Hello everybody, welcome back to day 14, breaking free from the matrix. My name is Jona Bryndis.
And I'm Jeff Casper.
And we're going to be your energy coaches here today, sharing another life energy training session.
Yes.
Thank you everybody for watching, for coming. We're looking at the live chat right now, where you guys are from. This is awesome. Thank you so much. We want to point out, and especially for this lesson today, that the reason why we do this live is for you to comment and to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're watching the edited version of this video, please, don't shy away to comment your experiences or, things that come up for you while watching this video. So once more, thank you so much for spending your time with us here.
Yes.
Now, I do want to start today with asking those of you who have been following us here these last 14 days, how you experienced the meditation that we sent out with the video yesterday for you as homework to practice inner connection. How did this go for you guys? And I'm going to do a little intro here for day 14, exploring, because we have this little lag, and then I'd love to read some of your comments, all right? So what we did yesterday is we dove a little deeper into the importance of connecting within and how this can lead us to an inner unity and inner wholeness that then allows us to step out of matrix programming. And we've defined matrix programming within these within this series of lessons here quite a few times, and each time from a different angle. And this makes it understandable for you why we're doing this for 21 days, because it's not that simple. If it was simple, or let's put it this way, it's not that easy. It's simple, but not that easy.
Right.
And this is why we're moving like a spiral through all these different layers of our ego that finally help us to reach that place in which we can feel safe enough, in which we can feel loved enough, motivated enough, in which we can feel enjoyment, fulfillment, and purpose, true purpose. And when we connect within, which needs to be practiced for various reasons, we will find out that there are parts in us that we have a hard time connecting with. And at first, we won't notice it because, we don't know what we're not connecting with until we are asked to do certain tasks. For instance, finding a purpose, finding your true talent. Those are all things that are connected with the ability to fully connect within.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, one of our main objectives here is to help you out with how you can leave or how you can liberate yourself from this collective experience, from this matrix programming. And a big part of that has to do with you understanding which parts of you are connected to this collective experience. And it is in the nature of these hidden parts, of these parts on us that we cannot fully love, that we cannot fully reconcile with, that these things hide in the invisible, that these things hide in the shadows of ourselves. And those are the ones that keep us basically in the grip of our initial or intrinsic matrix programming that we all have as humans. All right, guys, still waiting on you guys to share how the meditation, aligning to nature energies, aligning to higher vibratory energies, went for you yesterday or is still going. We received wonderful emails and posts from you guys describing how this was very moving for you. So let's come back to the shadows and the hidden parts. How do we know that we have parts in us that are hidden somewhere? It's pretty simple. If you guys had a hard time coming up with a purpose right at the beginning here of this energy training series, then you know that there are some things that you cannot fully connect with. Mm-hmm. And I honestly did not expect anyone to come up with a real or true purpose at this point. It was there to ask you to go into the deeper layers. That's why we asked us questions. Mm-hmm. This question for purpose and not for intention. And we described and explained to you what the difference is. So now we are beginning to understand why this is such a complex journey, and how this is linked to our shadow, to, our masculine and feminine, to our ability to connect. And when it comes to connecting or understanding the importance of connecting, then you will be led to the realization that everything in your life, what you can love, what you can connect with, what you can appreciate, what you can enjoy, what you can devote yourself, depends on your ability to connect to this within yourself and outside of yourself. So basically, your ability to connect within determines your ability to connect with the outside. And guess what? The more you can connect with the outside, the less you need to externalize your needs, your safety, your boundaries, approval, permission, and any of these things that affect your self-worth, that make you doubt yourself, that determines the way you see yourself, that determines the way you approach things, that determines, the stance that you can make in this lifetime. And with it, of course, also the space that you can claim. And here's the connection with fully embodying our spiritual nature, not just understanding it, but embodying it. So bringing it into the physical 3D existence. And that is that you need to claim your stake. You need to claim your space first. You cannot inhabit a space that you have not claimed. And that explains why so many of us energetically sensitives and empaths have a problem with belonging and purpose. Yes, and we're getting the first experiences here. Sandra's sharing the meditation was really good, interesting, lots of heat. Best is the space I woke up in the morning feeling great. Wonderful. Val shares, thank you. The meditation was very powerful, got quite emotional. What surprised me was taken to a couple of painful memories, which I thought I had already dealt with. Well, this is the reason why we have all these training lessons out here, because as we go into the deeper layers of our inner and outer connections, we will encounter things that we didn't know were there, or we thought we already dealt with on a mental level perhaps, but not necessarily on the emotional or the spiritual and energetic level. And this is what most people experience when they really allow themselves to go and explore this inner connection. Matthew shares, felt grounded and calm, feeling a lot lighter today. Yes.
Nice.
By practicing our inner connection, and this cannot be repeated often enough, you're going to encounter almost like a mini journey. Okay, so this meditation that we've shared as a gift here coming from our Sacred Self-Healing program is only a tiny little preview of what happens to you when you actually allow yourself to experience these different layers of yourself. Every of these steps comes with a major, tool to connect with this particular energetic resonance. And once more, the goal is to be able, or to become able to hold these higher vibratory places so that our overall manifestation ends up being, congruent with our higher vibratory goals. Because if we get stuck in these hidden places, in these disconnected places, then we become incongruent, we become irritable, we become irrational, we become, you name it.
Well, you become stuck. You get stuck, and that's the beauty too of also continuous spiritual work. Is as you do processes like the Sacred Self Healing Program, or even listening to things like this, and you keep that process going, the repetitive nature of it. Not only do you get stuck less, you notice when you are faster. And then you also have tools to get out of it, and that's the power of dedicated spiritual work, is you not only can face certain things easier because your energetic state is at a higher level, or you're connecting with a higher state, but you begin to get a better ability to discern and feel when you are dropping. So it's very, very smart to do this daily repetition.
And when it comes to understanding what stuckness, as we called it a few times here in the past, really does to our energy, and how it inflicts our ability to claim our sovereignty, then all you really need to do is to look at your persistent patterns. What are some of the things that keep repeating in your life? Because they are the ones that show you basically those traps, those pitfalls that you have, that when things get a little more stressful or challenging, that you end up with. And for most of us, this has to do with our core fears, with our core needs, and of course, them being met or not. So these conflicts that we have and contradictions have a lot to do with our inner ability to actually see what it is that is not being met right now. And once more here, this is a deeper layer now of what we've already talked about. And there will be more layers, just so you know. It's not done with understanding that, say, yes, I have an abandonment issue, and that is what creates my deepest core fear, or my deepest need to belong to something, or to feel safe. No, you've got to learn how to connect with this part, how to reclaim this part and reconcile with it, so that it doesn't dominate or drive your life anymore. And here is where this lesson here gets to the center piece of itself, and that is when we are setting out to explore new options, when we are trying to connect with this part in us that can connect us with our inner higher guidance, with our true calling, with our true nature, and we cannot really feel this, and we're trying everything but, more or less, that's when we have to look at what it really is, that drives us. And driving, just so you know, at this stage of your journey is most likely determined by your core fears. In other words, by your ego coping. And so if someone, like, say, goes into withholding when something stressful happens, then usually that is a sign that this person cannot really go into self-expression, because there's a fear of judgment, or a fear of making mistakes. If someone goes into attack, if someone goes into trying to overpower or over-control the situation, then that's a sign that this person may have a fear of getting punished. And if somebody goes into total disconnect, total dissociation, total withdrawing from what the task or the challenge is, then that's a sign that we have a part in us that has never really experienced power from within. And we talked about pleasing. We talked about some of these coping mechanisms, which we will dive a little deeper into tomorrow. But today, we want you to understand that there is a direct link between our drive in life, okay, and between our sort of deep unresolved inner child issues. Mm-hmm. And how am I coming up with inner child aspects? Now, as you can imagine, it's not so hard really to infer this, because what happens when we go into these deep unresolved inner conflicts is that we begin to act like children. Mm-hmm. And you can see this all over the world. Mm-hmm. The entire collective experience is dominated by unresolved inner child aspects. And bringing this into a more sort of metaphysical context for you here, it is the trinity of things that we are looking at now. For the past couple of days, we've looked at the dualism of things, which led to reconciling with masculine and feminine energies. Mm-hmm. When you actually begin to connect these two parts and balance them out within you, there's a new field that begins to form, and that is the creation field that comes out of the synergy and the unity of masculine and feminine energies. And this is the place of our inner co-creatorship. But it's directly linked to our ability to connect with masculine and feminine, to dissolve the dualism within us. And so just to give you a visual here, it is not enough to just, see how this is connected with, our propensities to one extreme or the other extreme. It is important to understand that this is linked to the center. And so when you begin to reconcile with your inner child issues, what happens is it's almost like a bullseye that is created within you energetically, pointing at the center of your center. And so the trinity of things, which is also represented not only in the mother, father, and child energies, but in so many other things in nature, all right? Also past, present, future. And these are the parts here that you will discover when you do this, namely how they are linked into your past and why this is affecting your future. So these are just a few examples of how the inner child, the unresolved inner child, can really dominate your life. Mm-hmm. And you will be able to download this. This comes from the workbook that comes from in the Sacred Self-Healing Program. Mm-hmm. So once you understand that it's not just about balancing strength and weakness, it's also about really allowing these two to come together, then you will begin to understand what it means to truly connect within. And some of the things that are needed to do this is to explore. Yes. Is to explore the space within you. You have to give yourself permission to connect with these parts. And there are a few things that are needed to explore. And that is, of course, the overall willingness to let go of your perception of self, the one that has been dominating your life, to let go of, this need to control, this need to rely on this driving force in you. And this may sound contradictory, but the driving force in you guys is not your purpose unless you are fully aware of all your inner child aspects. The driving force in you is your core fear, is your inner child's unresolved stuff.
Yeah, it's the separation and the pain. That's what drives you. It's not staying out of that. That's what keeps you going. So by being willing to go into that with vision and the willingness, then you begin to break that down. You begin to close that gap of separation.
And that's why we've been talking so much about embracing things, you know, really allowing yourself to feel your true feelings, because without that, you cannot really know what it really is that drives you. I hope this makes sense. How the connection between your shadow, your inner child, the inner imbalance, you know, the mommy and the daddy issues that we have, you know, how all this plays together. And this helps you to understand that some of the failures in your life, and the majority of your learning experience in life, and also the karmic thread that we will illuminate here in a couple of days, that all these things are connected. And so most of us, without knowing, you know, work with our ego mind to figure out, you know, intention and purpose and talent and all that, only to find ourselves in this repetitive wheel of having to force, you know, our way through our life. And that's why we perceive life as a struggle, and that's why we are all more or less in trying to survive our life. And once more, surviving is the direct link to your coping mechanisms, to your ego, to your autonomous nervous system, to your lower chakras. And this is what we see here in the collective as predominant evolutionary process. So if you want to out-vibrate that, you're going to have to deal with your inner child. And what happens when you do, and this is the beauty of this, is that you can begin to give yourself this space to explore, to get back into this wondrous child energy. You know, when a 2-year-old learns how to walk and talk, all right, he or she doesn't give up, you know, and just try to survive life. You know, they get up the 50th time, and, you know, and they smile with every tiny little step forward. There's an enormous power in this. And you may begin to feel the difference here between force and power. When you link into your inner higher power, it's self-propelled. You begin to expand spontaneously. You don't have to force it. You don't have to control it. You just do it. You don't have to think about what you're going to do. You will just do it, because the drive now is not force. The drive is the expansive power of you being fully one with yourself and your environment.
And the energy propels you. It's self-sustaining. It keeps you going. It's an excitement. It's fun. Even if it's scary, it's just you're moving forward. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, so you know when you have fully, or at least, you know, to a degree, reconciled with your inner child, when you can enjoy life again, when you can feel the joy of being alive, when you can fully embrace your 3D experience. And yes, Sandra, thriving and not surviving. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
So all the struggle that you experience is there for a reason. Okay, namely to show you how you are trapped in this collective experience. So the choice is yours, but in order to even know what choices you have, and this requires you to overcome your core fears and to learn how to feel safe enough without externalizing your higher powers to, you know, the validation of the system. You know, that you're doing good, or getting permission from the outside to do things, and embracing making mistakes. Until you can do that, you will continue to be trapped in your matrix programming. So when it comes to the implementation of what we have presented to you here today in this lesson, understand that this is a process that can take a couple years. All right. I mean, it took me like what, 35 years,
Still working. Yeah.
And humor can really help
Yes.
here. So
Yes.
those of you who are parents, parenting is one of these wonderful accelerators on this journey. Okay, it's an opportunity to learn from our children. Not only do they present this energy in a more pure form, because they don't have this fancy false self developed yet. So we can see a lot of raw energies there. And many of us, when we first become parents, we actually find ourselves in a place where we experience for the first time these hidden parts in us. These raw energies. I mean, be it the ability to see and feel beauty and connection and unconditional love, or the rage and anger that a parent can go through with their children. Both of these, polarities belong to this experience, and that's why, I call it an accelerator, because it really helps us to see this. But at the same time, it also brings in the medicine, namely the joy and the beauty and the humor, and the playfulness that this wondrous child can bring into our lives. Now, we don't all have to be parents ourselves to connect with this energy. That's why we recommend it to be or to connect more with nature energies, and animals. Animals can connect us to this energy as well. Or, being with children, playing with children, being goofy, doing crafts project and messing up the whole house with glitter. Those are expressions of exploration, of, tuning into this power within you, this expansiveness. All right. So in the practical, of course, on the physical level, this does not mean that you guys all have to become parents now. It can, but it doesn't have to. It's more about, finding out what makes you truly feel safe, and many of these questions throughout the series here led to this point. What do you truly need to feel safe? What do you truly need to feel loved? Can you give yourself the permission to explore? And the reason why this is a physical step, because very often we will feel this in our body, how we are being held back from moving forward. But it can also affect our finances, or things such as our living conditions. So people who move a lot, people who have issues finding the right place, often deal with massive inner child, unresolved inner child issues. On an emotional level, it's something that will be hard for you in the beginning, but after listening to what we've presented to you here today, it may be a little easier for you. Try to find out what has dampened you, what has dampened that exploration drive in you. Okay, what held you back? And you can use your mind, on a mental level to try to make out first patterns. Remember, you worked with your triggers before. This is the place where you can put the triggers together with the patterns. What are the things that drive you nuts, that hold you back, that throw you into one drama after another? Those are so-called patterns. And patterns, they are the ones that describe the wheel that we all get stuck in to us. And on a social behavioral level, which always ties in with the emotional and the mental aspects, is, do you know what has been driving you all your life? Do you really know what the driving force was in your life so far? I do. Mine has been inner child aspects in regards to not having been heard, having been made fun of for some of the things that I expressed when I was little, which a lot of that has to do with our energetic sensitivity. So for me, it was like seeing things differently than others, and people, or even my parents responding to this in a negative way. And so this is probably why I am a teacher here today, because the driving force in my life has always been trying to be heard. But there's other things that can drive you, such as the need for validation, or the need for pleasing,
approval. Yes.
The need for attention. Many of us with abandonment issues have this insatiable need, to stay in the center, or to see them or make themselves the center. When fear and anxiety rules our life, it creates this insatiable need to control everything and everybody around us. All right, those are just a few examples here. So when it comes to, really getting to the deeper layer of this, we call this spiritual, but it's not really spiritual in a sense of like spiritual belief, but it ties in with our core beliefs. What you can do is try to connect with this part in you, this core fear or this core need, and try to find out what it resembles. What age group does it resemble? Is this more like a something that makes you just sort of cry and feeling completely powerless? Then it's probably linked to an inner child aspect that is that was created, or that was disturbed in a very early stage, in your infancy, from 0 to 2 years old. Is it what drives you has to do with the tantrum or rage, yelling and screaming? It's usually linked to the age group 2 to 5, so where a lot of that exploration had to take place but couldn't take place. And there are other aspects to the different age groups that we go into depth with here at transCODES, because it requires you to really work with these parts for a bit of time.
Right.
We have a wonderful energy training, transmission, and healing circle workshops dealing with inner child aspects, and next to some of the connecting and resolving some of the karmic issues, inner child work is probably in conjunction with shadow work, because they too link to another the most transformational inner work that you can do.
Yes, because it brings up these old blocks that you kind of are aware of, but as you ask these questions and go into contemplation, all of a sudden you get some aha moments, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is where this is from, and you can begin to really work through this and reconnect with that vibrancy that you have as a child without the pain.
Energetically, we recommend that you allow yourself to explore this within, and so we would ask you to dedicate a meditation or a contemplation session, and to create the safe space where you actually invite your inner child, that part of you, hidden in the basement, starved and unloved. And this can help you to reconnect with this part, and perhaps even begin to see that you, the you in the now, can actually give this to your inner child.
Yes.
It's almost like becoming our own parent, But for many of us, this is a very emotionally releasing process, where we just reach out. Just reaching out and exploring the space will help you to explore more options and even talents and purpose and calling in your adult practical life right now. Yeah, so the homework for tomorrow is when you connect with this part, and the homework can help you with that, we want you to connect with your very early hopes and dreams.
Yes.
far back as you can remember, when you were like maybe a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, when you wanted to become a firefighter, or when you wanted to become a astronaut or nurse or a mommy or whatever that is. We want you to connect with that part of you, because that's where some of your hidden talents reside, and they can be major sort of, or they can cue your inner guidance as to where you need to look. The energy work associated with this lesson is reclaiming through inner fusion, and the energy work transmissions are the inner child transmission, the shadow work transmission, the healing circle transmissions, and grace integrity once more. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how all this ties together in our coping mechanisms, in these patterns. So we're going to talk about the wounded part of us and why it's so difficult to come by it. And we'll introduce a few tools to you, how you can work with your deep inner pain. I hope this helped you to illuminate some of the complexity of exploring today. And we'll see you here tomorrow again at 1 p.m. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like this video. Yes, wonderful comments. Lots of gratitude back to you guys. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.